Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, two parents are in jail after police say they and their kids were living in extremely dirty conditions. The arrest came at a home on David Hibbett's Lane in Laurel County. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what the couple is accused of doing.
Christopher and Brandy Bowling are in jail. Their kids are now in the custody of social services after police say that the home they were all living in was simply unfit. A constable was serving a writ of possession, which is part of the eviction process from the property owner, when sheriff's deputies went along. After opening the door, police say they could not believe what they saw. There was trash everywhere and spoiled food, a lot of it covering the floor. And what's worse, 4 children were found living in that extremely dirty home. But police say what they saw went way beyond just a dirty home.
Well, it's just fortunate that we were there for that writ of possession, because had that not been the case, then we would have never known that situation had existed.
The couple has said that they did not want to talk to us about the charges against them. Their children in the custody of social services range in age from 2 to 12 years old. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Police say the pair was charged with criminal abuse 3rd degree, which is a misdemeanor. During the Hazard Perry County Chamber of Commerce meeting this morning, a member of the Secret Service discussed counterfeit money and ways to spot it. WYMT's Madison Pergram joins us from the newsroom with more. Madison.
United States Secret Service agent Paul Budaj stopped by the Hazard Chamber meeting this morning to discuss counterfeit money. He stopped by because festival season is one of 3 times counterfeit transactions are on the rise in Kentucky, as well as Christmas and the Derby. Budaj says counterfeit transactions increase during festival time because of the cash-based interaction between merchants and consumers.
People are going through line. The counterfeiters know they get in the line, buy something that's relatively inexpensive, receive a significant amount of change. So maybe it's a $20 bill that they're counterfeiting and they're getting $18 change. They know there's a good chance that the person behind them then will receive the counterfeit.
A couple ways to check your money are first to check the security features, including the embedded security strip on the currency. And the bill should also have a 3-dimensional feel. So if you're out and about at Black Gold Festival this weekend, just remember to be cautious. Back to you.
All right, Madison, thank you. We'll have more on this coming up at 6. And if you see counterfeit money, you're asked to contact your local police department.
Well, it was another warmer day in the mountains, but at least we weren't as hot as we've been really the past couple of days. We've seen a little bit more of that cloud cover as well. You'll see that on a few of those cameras looking into downtown Whitesburg, dealing with that mixture of sun and clouds. So hopefully with that sun going behind the clouds, maybe cools you off just a little bit. Here on top of Buffalo Mountain here in Perry County, you're seeing really much of the same story. Now still dealing with the mostly sunny skies, but like I said, just a few of those clouds moving can definitely helps us. But overall, it's been pretty quiet other than a few of those stray clouds. Of course, we remain a little bit on that drier side today once again. That'll continue as we head into the rest of the evening hours. There's those temperatures, upper 80s to lower 90s. Now most of us were into the lower 90s. That's why I said a little bit cooler than we were yesterday, but still definitely hot out there. 84 Moorhead, 84 to Ashland as well, 87 into Jackson, 90 here in Hazard, even a 90 down into Williamsburg. Dew points a little bit on the rise too. You see those low to mid 60s, so a little bit muggy out there, so maybe feeling a couple degrees warmer than it actually is. And as we go ahead and take a look at those headlines, the warmer temperatures do really continue. Of course, we are still under that moderate drought for some of us. So are there any rain chances in sight? I have a little bit of some good news with that. I'll have more on that coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Paige, thank you. Officials with the Floyd County Sheriff's Department are missing someone close to their hearts. Former Chief Deputy Sheriff Lindsey Hunt died Sunday. WYMT's Marianne Fletcher talked with some of those who knew him best.
Lindsey Hunt served the people of Floyd County for more than 30 years as a sheriff's deputy. Now, many people know him as current Sheriff John Hunt's father.
I met Lindsey when I was just a kid. Actually, we grew up on the same holler.
Doug Lewis and Lindsey Hunt's friendship grew when they became sheriff deputies for Lewis's father in 1974.
He loved it. He was faithful to it, stayed with it.
Through the years, Hunt was known to only love a handful of things: his job, his family.
He loved fishing and he loved the Wildcats.
Chris Wall met Hunt during his time as Chief Sheriff's Deputy.
And you can talk to hours with him, and it seems like the minutes.
Wall says the county lost a true public servant.
He'd shake your hand, he'd pat you on your back, he would hug you, and everything like that. He was a true public servant in every way.
Officials tell me they are thankful for everyone reaching out, giving their condolences. In Floyd County, Marianne Fletcher, WYMT Mountain News.
Funeral arrangements are not available yet. Later at 6, you'll hear from someone closest to his heart, his granddaughter. The Pike County Sheriff's Office recently bought 3 new SUVs. Sheriff Rodney Scott says it was made possible by the surplus his department carried over into the new budget year. Scott says the department returned the surplus to the fiscal court, as it always does, and the court then decided to return it to the department for the purchase of new vehicles. And many of the older vehicles are worn and not capable of going into some of the more remote places in the county. The department hopes the new vehicles will eliminate that issue.
We have a lot of elderly people here, maybe in the wintertime, if we was to get a snow or something that we could get to them, maybe just taking their medicine to them, just something to be able to help them.
Scott says he's grateful to the fiscal court for noticing the need in the department and allowing them to fill it. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Defense Secretary Mark Esper have publicly blamed Iran for a strike on Saudi oil facilities. But President Donald Trump says he wants to be 100% sure about who is responsible for an attack on Saudi Arabian oil facilities before deciding how to respond. A senior official says the U.S. identified the locations in Iran where more than 20 drones and cruise missiles were launched.
They feel they're going to make a statement fairly soon. But they also know something that most people don't know as to where it came from, who did it, and we'll be able to find that out, figure that out very quickly. We pretty much already know.
The president says he does not want to go to war with Iran, but he is keeping military options on the table. Today is the anniversary of the U.S. Constitution. 232 years ago in Philadelphia, George Washington presided over 55 delegates as they adopted the document that created the government we have in place today. Checks and balances, freedom of speech, the right to vote, and many other freedoms we hold sacred were spelled out in the Constitution. Some of those freedoms are detailed in the first 10 amendments known as the Bill of Rights. Another Democratic candidate for president is making a stop in Kentucky. Pete Budaj will be campaigning tonight in Louisville. Budaj, the current mayor of South Bend, Indiana, will visit the Play nightclub at 7:30 this evening. Tickets are still available, but the cheapest $25 ones are sold out. You can buy tickets on Buttigieg's campaign website. Let's head over to Wall Street now on this Tuesday afternoon. The Dow closes up today more than 33 points. Legendary journalist Cokie Roberts died today after a battle with breast cancer. The 75-year-old's death was announced first by ABC News. Roberts worked for that network for decades, where she covered U.S. and world politics. During her 40-year career, Roberts won 3 Emmys, published bestsellers, and reported on both television and radio. Roberts leaves behind her husband, 2 children, and several grandchildren. It was a mystery for nearly 30 years. Human remains in a cardboard box in a supply closet in California. No one knew who the remains belonged to, but attorney Alec Arago did some digging. Turns out the remains belonged to World War I veteran Private Edward Alton Adams. Adams was supposed to be buried with his family, but for some reason that never happened. The veteran was finally laid to rest at an honors ceremony yesterday.
It was basically providing Mr. Adams with the ceremony that he didn't get back in 1991, and he deserves to have, as all our veterans do, those who served, be it in World War I or be it in Afghanistan.
Adams will be taken to the National Cemetery, where he will be buried with his family. Straight ahead on First at 4, out police in Florida say DNA from a cigarette helped them capture a serial killer.
And while the heat continues, are there any rain chances in sight? I'll have those details coming up.